Hey guys, it's Kevin, my review for the season premiere of American Horror Story Double Feature. And guys, it's been a while. It really has been a while since American Horror Story, of course, has been on TV. We haven't had a season since 2019. We were supposed to have one last year, but obviously COVID ended up getting in the way of that, as it did for many things. But I was very intrigued to see how this season was going to turn out. I didn't really know what it was going to be. I knew that they had something planned that was, going to happen last year, and now it's happening this year, and so they're kind of, like, combining two seasons together. I didn't know if, like, these two seasons would connect in any way, which we still don't know, obviously. We're not going to know until the second half starts, if that really is the case, but I was just very excited to see how this would really turn out overall, and so, I did watch this premiere, and I gotta say, I have not enjoyed American Horror Story this much in quite a bit. This is easily the most intriguing premiere they have done in a very long time, and if they keep up this streak, I think this show is really going to be on a great path moving forward, and I'm very excited to talk about these two episodes overall. I'm not going to go individually because I feel like it was a really good idea to premiere both of these episodes back to back, because they kind of do they kind of do tell like one complete story. Like, it does kind of feel like just one 2-hour premiere. It just happens to be 2 episodes, and I think they did that really well here. So I think we're just gonna jump right into it overall. So let's get into the central premise of this premiere, because it does kind of sound like something you've seen before, right? You have this family, and they're basically going on vacation. They've, come back from, they used to live in New York, and they're now going on this vacation to Massachusetts, basically to look for inspiration, because our main character, Harry, is very much suffering from writer's block, and he wants to go to Massachusetts in order for him to be able to fully work, but also for his wife, who does a lot of interior design, to also, be able to fully focus on her duties, without any distraction and things like that. So it does kind of sound like something we've seen before, and at first it kind of is, when you have that scene of them driving through, and there are all these like rules that are in place for where they are, which I thought was very interesting. But the thing that I immediately took note of is the fact that they do mention the Brown family, and we don't know who that is. And I was like, who the fuck is the Brown family? Like, who is she talking about? And so clearly there was some sort of family that's died, before the Gardeners arrived here. So are we going to meet the Browns? Are we going to start to, see some connections? Like, what really went on there? That's something that immediately really did intrigue me, I think, and I think made this very interesting. But then, once we get to see these characters known as the Pale People, that's really when I started to get locked into it, because, I honestly was legitimately fearful, and that's something I haven't been able to say about American Horror Story in a while. This season is generally scary so far. I mean, there's a lot of freaky things that go down in this season, and I honestly really do applaud them for that, because, again, I think it's the scariest American Horror Story has been in quite a minute. But just hearing about the Pale People, and, when Harry's, like, chasing one of them through the house, I mean, it was really intense stuff, and you want to know more about what's going on here, and that really leads us into our main story of the season, where he's struggling to get inspiration. He's struggling to write. You have his boss Ursula, who's constantly hounding him for new ideas, because he hasn't really been able to churn out anything good. He's very much struggling in that way. And then he, of course, happens upon these two characters of Austin and Sarah, or Bella Noir, and this is where we get to really the main plot of the season, where we find out that these two are highly successful. Austin is this theater director, I believe. He's a director. He's won like a Peabody, but he's also, I believe, like written some shows, so he kind of bonds with he kind of bonds with Harry over that. And then Sarah is this very successful romance novelist, and so you can really see how, like, Harry is kind of feeling a bit embarrassed that he's met these two. He doesn't feel like he's worthy enough to talk to these two because he's not like them. This is what he wants to be. He wants to be as successful as these two characters, but he doesn't really think he's ever going to be, I don't think. And I thought that was very interesting to watch because, you know, you really do kind of feel for Harry here, where to him, he's like kind of just this constantly struggling writer, and you know, this is what he wants to be, but who knows if he'll actually get to be. But this is someone that, you know, he's inspired by both of them. He is so taken aback by the fact that they would approach him, and, you know, he's like, what did I do to really deserve this? And eventually this gets him to basically discover this substance known as the black pill, or muse as they end up calling it. And I love the idea of this because this is really what I think makes this season truly something different than we've seen before. And I think that's something that's interesting about American Horror Story, is that, you know, 10 seasons in, it can be very hard to come up with original material, but I think this season kind of does do it, where, you know, there are these pills known as the muse, and it's essentially made to enhance your creative abilities. So, like, if you're a writer, like, say, Harry, who starts off struggling, suddenly all he wants to do is write, and he's coming up with these amazing scripts, and they're so good that, like, Joaquin Phoenix wants to be in on it, and he's got, like, a deal at Netflix, so, like, he's doing amazing. Then you got his daughter, in Alma, who, you know, she's struggling to play the cello. She really wants to be able to do this, the violin, it's very important to her, but she's not very good at it, and so she ends up taking a black pill as well, and suddenly it just enhances her abilities. But then also, you know, while it does enhance your abilities creatively, it also gets you to develop this sort of anger and resentment for anyone who doesn't take it. And, you know, you have Harry lashing out at Doris, saying that, you know, she'll never understand, or especially Alma lashing out at Doris, saying that she's just average, and that she's an average mother, and that she's not going to amount to really anything. She's always just going to be ordinary. I thought all of that was very interesting. The conversations that this season is already bringing up about creativity and about the idea of talent, you know, I think a big part of the season is going to be, is talent something that we are born with, or is it something that we're only, you know, these black pills, do they actually enhance your talent, or do they give you something that isn't there? Which is something that they bring up in this episode. It's like, these only work if you generally have talent. If not, it has negative side effects. And I think that's where that whole Lyme disease that Doris keeps reading about comes into play. I think that's what's gonna happen, is that eventually some of these characters are gonna get it, i.e. Alma. I could definitely see that happening for her, especially the end of this episode where she's literally eating live roadkill. You know, I think definitely that's something that we're gonna end up seeing for sure. I think this is gonna have a very negative effect on her as a character, and it's unfortunate, but we can already see her entire demeanor has changed. She's a lot more negative now. Again, you know, with the way that Doris was talking to her, saying that this isn't like her at all. Whereas Harry, it's not like he isn't acting that way, because he absolutely is. Like, he keeps, you know, scolding Doris whenever she's interrupting him for writing, but he's also developed this craving for blood, and this is also something really interesting, because it does sound a lot like The Shining in that way, where it's like, okay, now he's just writing, and he's like slowly drifting into madness, but adding this idea of him now needing to feed constantly, you know, him needing to feed on someone, I think is a really demented and twisted idea, and it kind of does feel like classic American Horror Story. The earlier seasons always did these really weird and, like, really sick ideas, and this season is very much a throwback to that, I feel like. And when Harry is feeding on that one guy in episode 2, who is literally just in, like, the middle of the street, and, you know, he's like awaiting for some sort of event to take place, and Harry just stabs him and, like, just devours him like that. I mean, that was really, you know, freaky. But the one that really got to me is when Doris cuts her finger and he's literally, like, sucking the blood from her to the point where he almost, like, bites her finger off. I mean, I was like, what the hell is going on here? I thought they did such a good job at constructing that and seeing that there already is this negative side to these pills, because it basically, you know, it ruins your whole immune system. It ruins your whole immune system pretty much. You know, you want this craving for blood every week pretty much. You got to have it once a week. And, you know, when Austin and Sarah, they've done it so much that they're used to it at that point. I thought that was very interesting. And then, you know, seeing the dentist as well, Billie Lourd's character, who they did such a good job at hiding that she was in the season. I knew she was in it, but I didn't know who she was playing. And she's this dentist that's also a tattoo artist of sorts, and I guess that she knows how to construct their teeth because they have fangs now. So yeah, there's definitely like some sort of vampire thing going on there, but if you don't have the talent, then at least what they say in this episode is that you do become one of the pale people. So the pale people are essentially the people that they do not have the talent. They are taking these pills. It is decomposing their body. And I do think, sadly, that could be what ends up happening to Alma as well. But we'll really just have to see what ends up going on there. But that entire aspect I thought was so well done. I thought they did such a great job of getting into why someone would want to take these pills, but also showing the effects, both positive and negative, that it really does have on you. They really are not holding back at all, and they're really just kind of diving headfirst into just how much this will mess you up as a person. I thought they did a really good job with that. But also when it comes to Harry and Doris's relationship, I thought that was also really well fleshed out, because you can see that these two are already kind of struggling within their marriage. You know, Doris is very passive. She likes to work a lot. She's always in distress, I feel like, not just because of her working constantly, but also her pregnancy. This is just something where she's rarely happy, and anytime they have a moment where, you know, they're gonna try to have a date night or they're gonna try to do something intimate, she just isn't down for it. You know, she falls asleep and he has to go on his own. So I think they're doing a good job of showing the disconnect between these two. While Harry is someone that is so ambitious and always is driven by his creativity, this is really what drives him as a person, is him writing. Doris, it seems like, it's sort of, you know, physically laboring for her. This is something that's having this very big effect on her. So I'm wondering if she also is gonna get a hold of these pills, and if she's gonna have them, and is it going to have a positive effect on her? Or is it gonna possibly affect her child as well? I mean, that could also end up happening, and she's gonna give birth to something that isn't human. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for where that can go, but I think Lily Rabe is doing such a good job at playing this character that you can see is very reserved in her demeanor, but she's someone that you can see there's a lot of stuff that very much does get to her, and I thought they did a really good job at showing that overall. So I really did enjoy her character. And let me also say, it is so great to get to see both Lily Rabe and Finn Wittrock have leading roles this season. I feel like these are two actors that have always been confined to the background, but they always have stuck out. And this season especially, I mean, they're really sticking out. I love the work they did with Finn Wittrock, especially, you know, as Harry. He's doing such a good job at playing this character that you can see is very frustrated by what's going on, but he's also so enticed by these black pills to the point where he's already sort of, you know, developing an addiction to them. And I really like the way they're going about that. So I think that whole story is very interesting to me overall, and I'm very excited to see how all of that really does play out, and especially how this deal plays out, because, you know, when Doris gets the word that Harry has this deal, she kind of just feels like their entire life is going to be turned around. Like, everything's going to go great. You know, he's got this deal now, and I think we're really going to see that that's not really what it's cracked up to be. And I think that's going to be a big theme of this season, is that the fame at first, while it's a good thing, I think a lot of these characters probably have these, like, negative sort of, you know, consequences, and I think we're going to start to see that. And that leads me to probably the most fascinating character yet in the character of TB Karen, who, you know, she is, of course, looked at as this very frantic and erratic woman. The first episode, she's just kind of yelling at Harry, telling him, you know, get out of here while you can, don't take those pills. You know, she's constantly scolding him for that. But you get to episode 2 and you start to understand why. And I thought that they did a really good job of already kind of diving deep into her character, recognizing that she has taken these pills before. before, and it did not end up well for her. And because of that, she's made choices in her life to where she's never going to be able to pursue her talent. She is this artist of sorts, and it's something that she does want to do, but she doesn't think she'll ever be recognized for that because people don't take her seriously. People see her as a joke. I really like that the woman that everyone sees as this monstrous creature really at the end of the day is the voice of reason here. She's the one who's really trying to get people to be like, hey, really think about what you're doing here. These pills are going to change your life forever and you need to not take them. So when she's having that discussion with Macaulay Culkin, who, can I just say, fantastic so far. I love what he's doing in this show. He's really going for it. When he's kind of contemplating whether or not to take these pills because he thinks it's going to help him become a better actor, she's the one that's trying to get him to not do that. She's the one that's trying to shy him away from taking them and kind of bringing up reasons as to why he shouldn't, but also explaining why she's never going to be able to because of the choices that she's made within her life. It's both a character that I think is very different for Sarah Paulson to play, and I think really shows her range as an actress, that she's playing this woman that is just so deranged, but also someone that I think has been very hurt in her life. She's gone through a lot, and I think she's probably the character that I think over time we're going to see has very much suffered the most, and so I'm very interested in diving deeper into her. She, for me, is easily the most intriguing character, and I don't think it's surprising that Sarah Paulson is playing her, but I like that this character is not just this crazy woman. There's a lot more going on with her. I feel like Sarah Paulson is often playing these, highly deranged and just insane characters, but this time around she's playing a woman that people see as that way but really isn't. She is the voice of reason. She is someone that has had exposure to these pills before. She knows what it can do to you. She knows how it can fuck up your life, and so I'm very excited to see more of what's really going on with her as a character, because I think that's going to be one of the best elements of this season for sure. Like I said before, I'm also very interested in getting into the characters of Belle Noire and Austin, because while we did see a lot of Austin in this episode, who Evan Peters, you can tell, is just having the time of his life, it is so good to see him back on this show. It feels like sort of like a return to an old friend, getting to see him and Sarah Paulson again, but, we see that seemingly, he's just so carefree about this. It's something that they do, there's them feasting on, other humans. It's just so mundane to them. You realize that they've done this for a long time. I'm also hoping that we get to dive a bit deeper into their characters. What brought them to do this? Because they're kind of drug dealers right now. I mean, they're constantly going around trying to encourage people to take this substance, and I'm wondering what really caused them to do this. What got them enticed to these pills overall? Who were they beforehand? I'm very interested in diving deeper into that, but also who is the, developer of these? Who came up with this whole ordeal? I think that's something else that we're going to end up diving a bit deeper into. Of course, other questions are what's going on with the whole Lyme disease? What's really going on there? Is everyone going to react the same way to these pills? Are we going to see one of these characters become a pale person? These are things I'm very interested in diving deeper into, and I think we very much are going to see that, within these coming episodes. As I already talked about with the acting, I think everyone is doing a really strong job here. It is so great to get to see characters that I think have not really gotten their time to shine. Now they really do. I like that those Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters are still very much present in the season. They are big characters this season. This really is a showcase for Finn Wittrock and Lily Rabe. They are our main characters this season. I like that they are. I think that these are two actors that have shown that they can really do some amazing work when you give them the right role in these, and they've really shined in these supporting roles. I mean, they've played some of the best characters of the entire show. Dandy, whether it was Sister Mary Eunice, whether it was Misty Day, they've all played some really strong, both of them have played really strong characters. It's great to see them finally in a starring role of sorts, and I think they're doing a really good job. Also, Kiera Armstrong, I also really liked in this show. I wasn't sure how how she was gonna do, but once she was talking down to Doris, I was legitimately frightened by her. I was like, no, this does not seem right. There's definitely something off there, and I think they're doing a good job with that. I think really my only complaints with this episode is that I wanted a little bit more, like I said, of Austin and Sarah. I want to see more of who they really are. They very much are expository type characters at this point. They're there to present information, and I hope we're able to see more of them. Also, can I just say, the way that they introduce both Austin and Sarah with them singing Island in the Stream has to be one of the most iconic introductions to a character I have seen in American Horror Story in a while. I mean, just right off the bat, it tells you everything you need to know about these characters, that they're eccentric, but they're also very well known in the public eye, but they're also very extra in that way. I think they did a really good job with that, and, you know, seeing the look on Harry's face, you know, knowing that these are two people that he really does admire and can't believe that he's, you know, he's kind of like in disbelief that he's in the presence of them, I just thought was a really good reintroduction to both of them. You know, it's been a while, like I said, since we've gotten to see either of them in new roles. Frances Conroy especially. I mean, the last time we saw her play a new role, I believe, was all the way back in, like, Roanoke, I think. I think it's really been that long. I mean, yeah, she came back as Myrtle Snow for Apocalypse, but she has not played a new role in American Horror Story in quite a bit, so I'm really glad they were able to get her back. I know this character was originally supposed to be played by Kathy Bates, but I think it was definitely the right choice to bring back Frances Conroy. I also think that we should have gotten to see these characters, you know, before they went to Boston. I hope that we get an episode where we get to see what their lives were before all this. For all of these characters, honestly, I want to see what their lives were before they made the choices that they did, because I think that would be very interesting as well. And also, like I said before, I want to know more about Provincetown, you know, because you see the chief in the first episode assuring them that it's, you know, it's a safe place, they have nothing to worry about, but yet they have all of these rules, and we don't know what that's really all about. What are these rules about? What happened to the previous family, the Brown family that was staying there? Are we going to find out more about them? You know, what's going on with, like, the Lyme disease? I think that's all stuff that we're going to lean into, and I hope that we get a definitive answer to all of that stuff. I guess my only real fear is that I know we're only going to get, I believe, like 6 episodes for the Red Tide arc, so I hope that it doesn't feel rushed. I hope we're able to get to that conclusion naturally, because I don't really know if it's going to tie into Death Valley. I don't know how they're really going to set all of that up. Is it going to be a separate thing? Is it going to be, like, you know, like a fever dream that these characters have? Is it going to connect in some way? I don't really know. Is it going to be like Fear Street, where they end up connecting the two at the end? I don't really know how they're going to set that up. I just hope whatever they end up doing, it ends in a satisfying manner, but we'll really just have to see how the season turns out. But really, other than that, I mean, there's so much that I loved about this premiere. The atmosphere especially. Something I really noticed about this season is that it really feels a lot darker this time around. The more campier, you know, over-the-top nature that I think recent seasons have had, not here. Really not here at all. And that's something that I was very impressed by. I like that this is going in a more darker direction. It feels a lot more genuine in that way. And I think it also lends way to make things more frightening. Like I said, I was generally unnerved by these 2 episodes, and I think, you know, that darkness that was present, I hope they're able to maintain that in this season, because as much as I like the campy, over-the-top nature that American Horror Story can be sometimes, I think it really does do a good job when they take it a bit more seriously. And I think Double Feature, you know, they're already doing particularly Red Tide. I don't know how Death Valley is going to play out, but Red Tide, you know, they really are trying to go for a more serious type nature, and I think it's working very well with this show. The cinematography as well. I like that everything has, like, this sort of gray sort of tint to it. You know, you really do feel that darkness looming, but you also feel like you're in this very mysterious environment, and I thought they did a really good job when it came to the cinematography and things like that. Particularly, again, the last shot especially is one that I think is really going to stay in my mind for a little bit. There were so many scenes in both these episodes where I was just so just weirded out by what was going on, but in a good way, not in a way where I'm like, oh, this is too weird. Like, I thought these were really interesting ideas, and I like what this season is trying to say about creativity. I like what this season is trying to say about, you know, dreams and talent and, you know, ambition. I think all of that, you know, it's really good this season. I hope that they're able to lean into that more as the season does go on. Like I said, overall, though, I was a big fan of this premiere. I think there are a lot of things that they did right. It is easily the best American Horror Story has been in quite a bit, and I really hope they're able to maintain this tone. I hope they're able to maintain the suspense, and I hope in general this turns out to be a really strong season. But overall, I really did enjoy this premiere. So for the first episode, which is called Cape Fear, I'm going to give that episode a B+, and the second episode, I'm actually going to give an A-. I thought it was very strong, really like the way that things are started off here, and I hope that the show is able to stay on this level for sure. But over, guys, to my review, the first of 2 episodes of American Horror Story double feature. Let me know what you guys thought of this premiere overall. Left your thoughts, and I am going to be reviewing this season weekly to you guys, which I am very excited to do. So definitely look forward to that. That's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.